Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. You know, sometimes politics and comedy do intertwine. This was pretty interesting. On Friday, before the big news story over the weekend, Theo had Democratic Representative Khanna from California on this past weekend to discuss several topics, including foreign affairs and AI. At one point on this past weekend, Khanna promoted the War Powers Resolution, which is a bipartisan bill that he had introduced with a Republican aimed at prohibiting U.S. armed forces from unauthorized hostilities in Iran. Theo said, yeah, people say, well, you don't know a ton about the Middle East. Like, that's fine. I don't want people I know, my friends, getting called up. I don't want the children of my friends getting called over to die. I don't even understand how it's an option. Went on to tell Khanna, it feels like we're just working for Israel. I feel like it was supposed to be America first. Like, we're focusing on, like, what? What are we doing to get things back into America, right? Like to increase the purpose of being American, to refill our hearts with blood and makes us feel something again here and make us be excited about being an American. The New York Times had a big profile of Andrew Schulz over the weekend. There's also an audio version of it. I think you have to go to Apple Podcasts and look for The Conversation. I'm not sure that's not on Apple, but regardless, I both read it and listened to it. It's kind of confrontational. It's pretty interesting. So it starts pretty basic. The Times asked Schulz, in the last 4 or 5 years, you've really blown up. What has shifted the culture to enable you to come to prominence? Andrew said, when I started posting stuff on the internet, specifically stand-up, things changed for me. I was trying to get an HBO special, or back in the day, Netflix or Comedy Central. I was trying to get anything, but I couldn't get any motion with stand-up. So out of desperation, I filmed my own special, pitched it to everybody. Nobody wanted it. And I was like, I'm going to put this online. At that time, there was a sensitivity, especially in corporate America, about edginess and jokes. So my gamble was maybe if I put this out on YouTube, there'll be an audience that likes this kind of comedy. I put it out, a weird thing happened. Everybody only watched 20 minutes. So I put out a 20-minute version of it, and the next weekend I sold out a comedy club. The next weekend I sold out another one. I was like, whoa, there's something happening over here on the internet. That's interesting, right? That people don't watch full hours. Maybe everybody is me. Yeah, that 20-minute thing, that makes a lot of sense to me as a consumer. Times, you obviously have clear ideas about what works with audiences. Does this create a temptation to pander? Schulz, oftentimes what happens is you'll have an opinion that's maybe a little different, and you'll be rebuked for that opinion for years, and then people will start to come around. Then the same people that rebuked you will start echoing those sentiments with no accountability. Times, you said you asked Democrats to be on the podcast. Whom'd you ask? Who said no? Pete Buttigieg, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris, and then her team lies, blatantly lies. Times, about what? Schulz, about us reaching out. And it's wild to blatantly lie when not only did I reach out, Charlemagne, who's working with them, reached out, Mark Cuban, who's a surrogate, reached out, and we reached out, and they blatantly lie. Then when people write articles about it, they say Andrew says he reached out to Kamala, but we reached out to the Kamala people, and they say that never happened. So what's the reader supposed to interpret that as? It's almost like calling me a liar. Then the interview gets into a bunch of Trump stuff, which is just too political for what we're doing here at Daily Comedy News. You can read it. You can listen to Andrew himself. Then they get into Andrew's use of the R word and another word I don't want to get involved with at all. So same note, you can listen to that or you can read it yourself in the New York Times. Then this next point from Andrew I think is stupid. They're going back and forth on which words Andrew is comfortable with and which he's not comfortable with. So Schulz says, have you heard of fire retardant? How do you feel about that word? Times, correctly, retardant in that context means to slow something down. Schulz, and this is just a stupid point, goes, should we make a different word for that? Come on, dude. Come on. Just come on. Jumping ahead, the Times writes a few days later, Andrew and I talked again, and Andrew says, I was thinking about a lot of things from the conversation so far. Yeah, you had a good question I thought about all week, which was, you don't say the N-word or the K-word, but you'll say other words. I was like, I don't think that's true. I didn't know what to think of it in the moment. Then you brought up the R-word and how I feel comfortable saying that one. I really thought about it. This is me trying to retrofit my knee-jerk feelings on it. I think what makes a slur bad is it's a descriptor plus organized violence. As humans, we're like, that's bad. But if we don't remember that organized violence or aren't taught about it or it's too far in the past, we start to feel like it's not as heavy. I think that's why our reaction is different when it comes to Latino slurs or Asian slurs. Where's the organized violence? Interesting piece there. The Times also had an article titled, What Does Shane Gillis Want to Get Away With? No interview with Shane there, but they're mostly talking about tires, and they write, Gillis brought a bro-comedy fan base and endured a quasi-cancellation with his Netflix sitcom Tires. He's trying to map the leap from edgelord to the mainstream. His big break turned into an immediate roadblock, and he went from anonymity to cause cancelebre overnight. In a way, Gillis' quick cycle of ascent, crash, and rebirth allowed him to begin addressing the obstacles that many of the manosphere's current new bro stars, now it's NU with like an umlaut or something, the 2 dots above the U, new bro. And I think this article used new bro twice. I didn't know that was a term, and suddenly we're using it, but okay, I'm not even sure what it means, but that many of the manosphere's current new bro stars are heading towards. Most are still building creative work, largely outside the moral spheres of mainstream Hollywood and media, hence YouTube, podcasts, comedy clubs, and so on. But blessed with both an audience and something of a scarlet letter, Gillis is most interested in finding his way back to fame's mainstream, or perhaps to remake it in his mold. They describe Shane's comedy as an affectionate portrayal of a cocksure simpleton. Gillis manages this in part because of how he uses his body. Now, this is really smart here. I thought they nailed this here. When he stands, now he's 6'4" and lumberjack sturdy, he tends to bend at the neck ever so slightly as to slightly minimize his presence, and Gillis soft steps rather than pounding around, giving him an apologetic mien, M-I-E-N. We're using the big words today, New York Times. Overall, he exudes a kind of soothing Sandlerian hangdogness. Somebody got the thesaurus out for this one. Undoubtedly, a decade or two from now, an auteur director will find a way to radically remake him in a role of great tragic empathy. Did nobody in the Times editorial department go, use some normal words, dude? What is this article? For now, though, it's masturbation jokes and also gestures with sires. Gillis appears to be aiming for a post-liberal restoration of mainstream comedy values to somewhere in the late 80s, but with a greater dose of self-awareness. Steph Tolev has a special out on Netflix today. It's called Filth Queen. Filmed in Boston, it's produced by Bill Burr, who told Deadline, "The first time I saw Steph Tolev was a promotion video she had made for a New York City show. I immediately fell in love with her and her comedy. One of the most uninhibited original voices out there today. I love everything about her." Speaking of Burr, from the Boston Globe, somebody grabbed Burr on the street and they asked Burr about the Karen Reed case. Bill said he thought everyone was lying. He was told Karen was acquitted, and he said, wow. The Netflix release schedule is a little light right now. We've got Steph today, Nate Jackson on July 8th. Veer Daz will have a special on July 18th. This one titled Food Volume. There's a poster for the special which shows Veer Daz holding a lamp in his hand. The caption reads, "Indian comedy is not silent, it returns with full volume." Here are your guest hosts for Jimmy Kimmel Live this summer. They include Anthony Anderson, Nicole Byer, Alan Cumming, Chris DiStefano, Fortune Feemster, Jelly Roll, Diego Luna, and Kamal Nanjiani. This one, I keep making crinkly face at this, and I think I brought it up in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. Amy Poehler was on her podcast and just decided to bare her soul, and nobody was asking her to bare her soul. Amy said that every comedian who has appeared on SNL over the years has, quote, played people that we should not have played, and, quote, the part about getting older and being in comedy is you have to, figure it out, and, oh, everything has an expiration date. There was even on SNL 50 when they had that segment which was here's all the ways we got things wrong, and they showed way inappropriate casting for people. We all played people that we shouldn't have played. I misappropriated. I appropriated. I didn't know. I don't know what to make of this. We've all done things in the past that were, we wish we could do over. And, is somebody walking around going, I can't believe Amy Poehler did that role one time. I don't even know what she's bearing her soul about. And are you going to give back the money or just what? We're supposed to go, oh, yeah, that thing you did. All right, that's cool. I don't even know why you're bringing this up. There wasn't any sort of Amy Poehler gate. And at some point, comedy is making fun of things. Otherwise, you're just doing puns and knock-knock jokes. There's almost always an object of the joke that is being goofed on. She told Will Forte on her podcast, the best thing you can do is make repairs, learn from your mistakes, do better. It's all you can do. That I agree with. I mean, we make mistakes. We don't have time machines, move forward. But I don't know why. I don't know what this is about. It seems like some sort of virtue signaling to the Hollywood crowd. But Amy's at a point in her career she doesn't need to do that. So I don't get it. Late Nighter reported that Martin Herlihy, you know him from SNL and the Please Don't Destroy guys, he had started a new Apple back-to-school campaign. Guys, it's June 24th. We're doing back-to-school already? It only turned 90 degrees where I live 2 days ago. And we're doing back-to-school? Can we just enjoy summer? Anyway, the back-to-school campaign was aimed at college-bound teenagers, but the 7-minute short was quietly pulled from Apple's YouTube channel after one day. In the video, Late Nighter says, Herlihy played a fictionalized version of himself guiding high schoolers through the parent presentation designed to help students convince their parents to buy them a MacBook. Apple has not explained why they took the video down, but apparently some people on social media called the video cringe, out of touch, and even manipulative. And that is your comedy news for today. If you would like the program without commercial interruption or feed drops, you can go to calaroga.com/plus, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, click the banner that says uninterrupted listening. $5 a month, that stuff goes away. If you're on Apple, you get a 30-day free trial. So why wouldn't you? Just try it out for 30 days. And like I've joked before, and I'm totally joking, if on day 31 you forget to cancel it and I get $5, well, hey, what do you want from me? See you tomorrow.